Honus Wagner believed his bats contained a finite number of hits, 100 to be exact, and so he would pick out a new one whenever the old bat's lifespan had expired. That may sound odd to you and I, but it would not surprise Yasiel Puig, who licked his bats for good luck. Baseball is a game of rituals, rhythms, and superstitions. Its long regular season means players go into slumps. Pitchers and hitters know they will experience repeated failure, so what can be done about it? Performing routines believed to aid long-term success is one way to stay sane, and doing so might just focus the mind for success and prepare it for the frustrations to come. Today I want to reflect on sport and the human condition, superstitions, luck, cheating, scapegoats, and curses. Wade Boggs, the American League's best hitter during the 1980s, was known for his routines and superstitions. He ate chicken before every game and ran to and from the dugout using the exact same route. Entering the batter's box, he drew the Hebrew symbol for life. Boggs used repeatable practices as one way to prepare for competition. And in a game like baseball, it's nice to know you can control what's for dinner or how to enter the batter's box when so many other things are out of your control. Superstitions pervade Major League Baseball. One is not touching the foul line when running onto the field. Another is not speaking to a pitcher who's throwing a no-hitter. Breaking these unwritten rules just might anger the baseball gods, who have been known to punish players for specific reasons and for no reason. The baseball gods are notoriously unpredictable. Like Zeus or Athena in Greek mythology, the baseball gods giveth and taketh away. Their actions explain bad luck, slumps, and misfortunes. And then you have religious faith. Many players pray before and during games. Nowadays, a good number of hitters sign the cross or point skyward after hitting a home run in acknowledgement of their Christian faith. Okay, let's talk about what is and isn't considered fair play. Doctoring baseballs has been illegal since 1920, but pitchers do it anyway by applying foreign substances to the ball or scuffing it with a ring or file. Now, properly done, the ball's motion can be dramatically affected. Another commonplace trick in the 20th century was putting a bit of lubricant on one's cap and then surreptitiously applying it to the ball. Pitcher Gaylord Perry admitted to throwing illegal pitches as a point of pride because he got away with it his entire career, with one exception. He even wrote a book titled Me and the Spitter. Admitting to the use of illegal pitches did not prevent Perry's induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He did, in fact, have over 300 victories and 3,000 strikeouts, an amazing career. But I think this tells us something important. Fans and journalists tolerate rule breaking and bending if it involves skill. Crafty pitchers who doctor baseballs and escape detection are one example. Although I should mention that these arts have become more difficult since the advent of high-definition television. Now camera crews are far more likely to capture pitchers doctoring balls. Corked bats, which are lighter and improve bat speed, are illegal according to the rules of Major League Baseball, and they're not viewed by the public as an acceptable form of cheating. Since 1976, players have been caught using corked bats. The most famous and last player suspended for using a corked bat was slugger Sammy Sosa, although it was Sosa's steroid use that kept him out of the Hall of Fame. Deciphering the signs pitchers and catchers relay to each other, or the signs managers and coaches send to players, is not cheating. Sign stealing is old and widely accepted because it requires skill. That is to say, if you can figure out another team's signs, you have the right to use the information. Teams and players therefore change signs and do things to prevent sign theft. But there are boundaries. It is both illegal and scandalous when teams steal signs using video cameras or external technology. Fans and sports writers do not regard this kind of sign stealing as acceptable. For example, in 1951, the New York Giants came from way back in the standings to win the pennant and defeat the Brooklyn Dodgers in a 3-game playoff. Decades later, Giants players admitted something scandalous. The team had used a telescope in the outfield of the Polo Grounds to decipher signs and relay them to batters. That sign-stealing system helps us understand why the Giants won 37 of the last 44 regular season games, and it puts into relief what happened during the 3-game playoff. Dodgers pitcher Ralph Branca threw an inside fastball to Bobby Thompson in the bottom of the 9th inning. Thompson knew what was coming and hit a game-winning home run. But he had an unfair advantage. More recently, it came to light that the Houston Astros were using video cameras to steal signs during the 2017 and 2018 seasons. Major League Baseball suspended the Astros manager and general manager, fined the club $5 million, and deprived it of top draft picks. Whether or not that was sufficient punishment is a controversial topic. The point is, certain things are off limits to players and teams. Consorting with gamblers is one. Using video cameras to steal signs is another. Both actions cross a boundary that calls into question the game's integrity. And the same thing can be said for performance-enhancing drugs. In a previous lecture, I dealt with the topic of steroids during the 1990s and 2000s. Like the theft of signs using technology, performance-enhancing drugs are regarded as an unfair advantage. If one player uses steroids to gain strength or recover from an injury, it disadvantages players who do not. Well, what about energy drinks or oxygen therapy? What about the sticky substances pitchers use to increase their spin rates? What about all the yet-to-be-invented over-the-counter elixirs that boost energy and focus? The boundaries of what is and isn't fair fluctuate over time, and that's a very human aspect of the game. Our moral economy for the sport of baseball reflects society and its concept of fairness. What is seeking competitive advantage, and what is harmful to the integrity of the game? Let's talk about spectators. Fans appreciate athletic excellence. After all, the human body is beautiful, and athletes remind us of that with powerful throws, leaping grabs, and tape measure home runs. But why do fans root for teams with such passion? Why care so much about a recreational activity that will have no bearing on whether or not someone gets a job or a bank loan or stays healthy? Well, sports, they meet human needs. Caring about a team within a group is a source of social bonding. Many of us have good memories of watching sports with friends and family. We crave group identity and belonging to something larger than ourselves. Churches, political parties, and sports teams can provide that sense of belonging. Games and teams are a distraction from the problems of daily life. They're an escape. So we use competitive sports to blow off steam, to channel emotions. Fans believe they can affect outcomes through cheers and heckles, and home field advantage is real. Empirical evidence has proven the benefits of home field advantage. There's also a darker side to sports, because fans of opposing teams sometimes harm each other. Fans get drunk and violent, and fans, journalists, and owners abuse players. Now I want to focus on a handful of incidents in baseball history that involve scapegoating. In 1908, the Cubs and Giants had tied for first place in a heated pennant race. In a tie game with 2 outs in the 9th inning, teenage rookie Fred Merkle, pictured left, singled. That hit advanced his teammate to third base. And when the next batter got a hit, Giants fans erupted with cheers. Hooray, the game was won. Or was it? Merkle saw his teammate touch home plate and thought the game was over. As a result, he headed to the clubhouse and not to second base. Giants fans swarmed the field. It was bedlam. Amid the confusion, Cubs second baseman Johnny Evers noticed that Merkle hadn't touched second base, so he found a ball, touched second base, and appealed to the umpire. The umpire called Merkle out, which meant the game had ended in a tie. Well, the Cubs, and not the Giants, went on to win the pennant. Looking for someone to blame, a sports writer for the New York Times said the loss was due to Merkel's censurable stupidity. Everyone called it Merkel's boner. Sadly, the base-running mistake of a teenage rookie defined his nearly 20-year career in professional baseball. Teammates called Merkel a bonehead, and journalists asked him about the incident for the rest of his life. Ralph Branca was an all-star pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Fans liked him, teammates liked him. Unfortunately, he is remembered for a single pitch. During the deciding game of a playoff for the National League pennant in 1951, Branca entered the game in the bottom of the ninth inning and gave up a home run to Bobby Thomson. Giants broadcaster Russ Hodges screamed into the microphone, "The Giants win the pennant," over and over as Thomson rounded the bases. Fans swarmed the field. It was dubbed the shot heard round the world, and Ralph Branca would be remembered for giving up the shot heard round the world. Athletes frequently get remembered for a single iconic moment, not for the sum total of their talent or character. In the same way, politicians get remembered for gaffes, actors get remembered for catchphrases. People are unfairly typecast. First baseman Bill Buckner recorded nearly 3,000 hits in the major leagues, but he's best remembered for what happened during the 1986 World Series. With 2 outs in the 10th inning, a ball went through his legs and the Mets scored a winning run to come from behind. Buckner felt awful, as did his teammates who played poorly in the 10th inning. But why did fans and writers fixate on the ball going through Buckner's legs? Pitchers Calvin Schiraldi and Bob Stanley were the ones who gave up the lead. When Bob Stanley entered the game, he promptly threw a wild pitch, which allowed the Mets to tie the game. Nonetheless, people fixated on the last moment, not the total sequence of events, and I think that's very human. We latch on to symbols, not nuance. Sometimes it's a fan that gets scapegoated. On October 14th, 2003, the Chicago Cubs appeared likely to reach the World Series for the first time since 1945. They had a 3-run lead heading into the 8th inning at Wrigley Field, and that's when a fly ball was hit down the third base line and drifted into the grandstands. Reaching out to protect himself from the projectile was Cubs fan Steve Bartman. It all happened quickly, and Bartman's response was instinctive, even defensive. Well, Cubs outfielder Moises Alou got angry with Bartman. He believed he would have caught the foul ball had Bartman not reached out for it. Then something stunning happened. The Cubs' defense melted down. Shortstop Carlos Gonzalez bobbled an inning-ending double play, and the Cubs surrendered 8 runs. Many Cubs fans at the stadium blamed Bartman for what happened, for touching off the sequence of events. They hurled insults and showered the poor man with beer. In fact, the situation got so ugly that stadium security had to take Bartman into protective custody. They dressed him in a disguise so he could be delivered to a safe location. The Chicago Sun-Times, a local newspaper, published Bartman's identity. Now the whole city could focus its frustrations on a single person. Before that, Bartman was just an anonymous fan. Others in Chicago spoke of a curse. The curse of the Billy Goat, as an explanation for the Cubs' seeming inability to reach the World Series since 1945. And all of this brings us back to human nature. Believing in a curse can be comforting. Some Boston fans and writers insisted that none other than Babe Ruth, the Bambino, had cursed the Red Sox in 1920. That was the year when the franchise sold him to the New York Yankees. The curse of the Bambino developed out of the Red Sox failure to win the World Series. And even if fans and writers didn't believe in the curse, they needed some explanation. Some explanation for why the Red Sox kept getting close to a championship title without success. Myths are revealing of the myth makers. In this class, we've talked about Albert Spalding's Baseball Commission, which found that Abner Doubleday invented baseball in Cooperstown, New York in 1839. Spalding and his mythmakers wanted baseball invented in a rural place and by a war hero because that met the mythmakers' emotional needs. And it's a reminder of something about our psyche. Yes, we possess rationality and the ability for measured judgments, but those capabilities are often clouded by emotion. So it feels appropriate to conclude with a few comments about why we play and watch sports. First, humans seek interaction with others. We're a social species. Second, sport represents one healthy outlet for our competitive nature. Third, games can help us relax and stay out of trouble. Fourth, they prepare us for dealing with life's successes and failures, and baseball has plenty of both. And finally, sports reflect society. The games we play and watch say something about us. Here's the bibliography I drew on for this lecture. Let me know what you think in the comments.